Hello friends, in this particular video I will be talking about how we can make use of fragments and activity together. We know that fragment is very popular because we can embed a fragment inside an activity, and that's what we are going to see right over here. So let me run the application first, and here it is. As you can see, it has one edit text. So you must be wondering that this edit text has been implemented where? Is it in your activity or it is inside the fragment? We will see that. Don't worry. So let me put my name over here, and then I'm clicking on this particular submit button. As I do that, you get to see a message called Hello Swaroop. So let's see how this whole thing is actually working. So first, if you see over here, what are the things I do contain? I have got a package called my activity, my fragment, and my interface. So let me show you the interface first. And here it is. I have chosen a name called OnNameSubmitListener. You can choose whatever name you feel like. It has an abstract function called onNameSubmit. As we know, that interface is a container that's going to hold abstract methods. And it has a parameter over here. So that means whoever is going to call this particular interface will assign this parameter with a value, and then whoever is going to inherit this interface will define the body of this abstract method. Okay, so the calling will be done by the interface and the implementation will be done by the activity. That's how the flow is. So let me show you the XML file of your fragment first, and here it is. So you saw the edit text and you also saw the button. So these two things, these two views, is actually written inside the fragment, and we have implemented view binding, and that is the data binding. Here it is. So we have gone for the build type as data binding, and that's the reason why I have written the layout tag over here, because layout should be the root when you're going for data binding. Well, I did not pass any data over here, but still, just as a practice, I've written this tag data over here. So you have an edit text over here by the name called edit text name. Well, preferably you change the name according to your requirement. And we also have a button over here. So once the user clicks on the button, something is going to happen. So this is how the fragment layout has been designed. So now let's move into the fragment and see what is there actually written. So here is my fragment, and here it comes. Now you need to understand few things very minutely, and then the whole concept will be crystal clear that how exactly the flow of control is taking place. Well, a fragment has its own lifecycle methods just like an activity, and in that lifecycle method, the very first method that comes is onAttach. Well, it has a parameter of type context. So if you go by the word onAttach, that means you are attaching this with someone, right? That's the reason the word attach is given. Yes. So who is attaching this is what we will be seeing it. So keep this thing in mind. OnAttach is related with something, and as you know, we are passing context, so we can well understand that there is some association between an activity, because an activity is a context, right? Okay. OnAttach followed by onCreate, but at this point of time onCreate is not of that much important, so I've written it in the comment line. And then comes onCreateView, which plays a very important role, followed by onViewCreated, and when the whole work will be done, then we will give a call to onDestroyView, followed by onDetach. So attach is attaching something, and detach is going to detach something, right? So they are just opposite to each other. So this is how the flow would be inside the fragment. Now let's move to the activity. Don't worry, I will go through all these functions. So here is my activity, and if you see over here on the very first line, the activity is going to inherit the interface. So I told you whoever is going to inherit the interface will be defining the abstract method that the interface contains on name submitted. So here is the definition of the abstract method on name submitted, and the interface is going to pass a parameter. So the parameter will be received right over here, and then what we are going to do, we are going to display it inside the text view. Well, I did not show you the layout of activity_main, so let's go and check it out. So this is my view where the name was displayed. So the text view is there inside your main activity, and to embed your fragment we have got frame layout. So do remember, when you're using frame layout, we will be using the fragment. As I said at the very beginning, the fragment is going to be embedded inside an activity. So you need a special view container who will be holding your fragment, and that will be done by the frame layout. So frame layout is responsible for containing the fragment. So far so good. Okay, great. So now again we have gone for the data binding. For that reason we have used the layout as a root tag. So we can well understand that the result that will be coming right over here, that is what I'm going to display in my text view with the help of data binding. So that's how this interface is going to work. So we can say that the interface is going to connect your fragment at one side with that of the activity at the other side, and in between what will happen is you're passing data from the fragment to an activity. Yes. So this particular app is going to send data from fragment to an activity via an interface. So the interface is going to work like an adapter. It is going to accept data from the fragment and is going to display the data inside the activity. So that's how the way the communication between fragment and activity is taking place via the interface. Okay, and here we have gone for the data binding that you know very well. So let's see what is there inside the onCreate. So here is the onCreate method, because you know very well that when the app will start, the very first resource that will get executed is of course main activity. So there should be some kind of attachment between the main activity with that of the fragment. Yes. So after the implementation of the data binding, and now we move to something called support fragment manager, and this is responsible for loading of fragment. So how it will work? Well, first you will start the transaction. That means you have just connected the fragment with that of your XML file, and the fragment will be shown. Remember, the fragment has got this layout that has got edit text and button that I need to show inside my frame layout of my main activity. So inside the frame layout over here the thing will be embedded. So that has been done with the help of begin transaction. And after that, you see over here what we are saying. We are saying that replace the container. This is the frame layout with the fragment that we have created, and it comes right over here. And we are going to save it so that the UI should hold the fragment inside the frame layout. So for that reason, commit means a kind of save operation we are doing it. We can understand after this particular execution that the fragment is getting embedded in the activity, but just not that the only stuff it is doing. At the same time, it is also passing something. So once you are writing this fragment, by default onAttach function of the fragment lifecycle gets called, and onAttach is receiving the context. Who is the context? The context is the main activity. So the context is coming over here, the main activity. And what this particular parameter is doing, the parameter is going to check whether the main activity has given the definition of the interface or not. So here it is checking if context is this. So that means main activity did give the definition of this abstract method. So it is checking, it is asking a question. Did it? Yes, it did. In that case, the reference which you have created of the interface gets initialized with the context. That means listener or the reference now knows that which particular activity who has given the definition of the abstract method. That it remembers, because at the end of the day you have to send data from the fragment to the activity. So you need to remember the activity is the one who is receiver over here, and fragment is the one who is the sender over here. So the sender must remember to whom I have to forward the data, and that is what been done by the method called onAttach. So remember, onAttach is going to attach your activity and fragment together, and that's how the interface is going to come, and that's how the fragment later on will be forwarding the data, because after the execution of this very line, it has understood that it is the activity who is going to receive the data, and thereafter it will be able to display the data through the XML of the activity. So that's what is done. Okay, so it is asking the question that did the activity has given the definition of the interface of the abstract method. The answer is yes. Then please remember the name of the activity, and that's what the content of onAttach is. Great, right? And now comes the onCreateView. So after you have given a call to onAttach by the help of the support fragment manager, now you are going to go for the data binding of your XML file, and you are going to return the root. Who is the root over here? The root is your constraint layout, because inside the constraint layout you have written every view, so you are going to return the constraint layout. Remember, if you see over here that this particular method is returning a view, so for that reason, even though constraint layout is a view group, but the view group inherits the view, so for that reason you have to return the constraint layout right over here. So the onCreateView is responsible for data binding, and it will also receive the constraint layout, so thereby it will remember that inside the constraint layout the other views are there through which the data will be accepted. So that's what it's been done by onCreate. And now comes onViewCreated. What will happen? Well, after the user has given the input over here, the user is going to click on the submit button. So once the submit button is being clicked by the user, what exactly it needs to perform, that has been defined inside the onCreate method. Sorry, onViewCreated. So inside the onViewCreated method, we are just going to handle the onClickListener of the button. So here we have gone for set onClickListener. That has been referred with the data binding, and this is the name of the button. If you see over here, the button has an ID called button submit. So I'm checking that is the listener been activated. Yes, the user has clicked. So accept the data from the edit text, pass it into the variable, check whether it is blank or not. If it is not blank, and now see you're giving a call to the listener. Remember, onAttach, the listener was been a context, that the main activity. So fragment, remember that I need to forward the data to this particular interface or this particular abstract method which has been defined inside the main activity. So from here you will directly move to the main activity, and the main activity will accept the input that is coming from the fragment, and that's how it is going to display the name inside the text view. Along with that, two more things we have to do it. Once you step out of the fragment, you need to remove your connectivity. What is the connectivity? The binding, the fragment which you have binded with the data, that there is no point of holding that. You remove that, plus the interface which you have created, that reference also you need to detach. So here the interface reference has also been detached. So onDestroyView will remove the data binding of the fragment, and onDetach will remove the reference of the interface that was associated with the fragment. And that's how the data comes to the main activity, and eventually it will be shown inside the main activity, like what you saw right over here one more time. So this is how your fragment has been embedded inside the view, and this is what is there inside the activity. And now when I'm passing the data like Swaroop Kumar, so this whole data is actually coming from the fragment to the main activity, and that's what you see right over here. So at the end of this video, you have understood how fragment and activity is interconnected with the help of interface, and of course we are making use of data binding. In the real life application, fragment will be very crucial because fragment is a key component in context to navigation, and that would be the subject matter of my next video. So stay tuned and take care. Bye bye.